Hello, my name is Chris Brooks,
And I'm Kenny Trinh.
and this is our project video for our 119A class over at San Jose State. So essentially our project was to develop a tutorial on IBM Worklight. Worklight is an innovative application that was recently acquired by IBM from an Israeli company back in early 2012. Worklight's kind of a middleware product that closes the gap on application development and makes it relatively more simple. This is because typically when a company is developing an app, they have to develop it specifically for multiple environments, things like iOS, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry. Worklight fits right in the middle of this and actually allows you to develop one app using just typical web programming languages such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then from there it converts it to each individual environment. Since Worklight is a fairly new program, many students and companies in general are not aware of the full capabilities of IBM Worklight.
Coming into our resolution, what we sought was to create some kind of documentation that will help future students basically create powerful hybrid application development using a software known as Worklight. And we want to give students easy access to something that is easily understandable versus what they have on IBM's website. We also wanted a very easy way for students to have access to information by creating an application that houses all the tutorial documentation that IBM has in a more simple, easy to read fashion. Users will have an interface that will basically give them all the necessary information on their phone to develop their first application using Worklight.
Yeah, so since IBM Worklight is fairly difficult to get started with, we just wanted to compile some of the necessities for somebody looking to get started using the program. I'm now going to go over the triple constraints of our project, starting with the scope. So the scope of our project was pretty open-ended. We were able to pretty much define our own scope. We went forward and developed the full application and separated it into different sections regarding on what the user would intend to learn, starting from just a basic introduction to Worklight, like how to install it, how to set up your own app, how to structure it, and then finishing off with a little bit more complicated aspects such as deploying the application to an actual app store. For the time it took to do our project, time was definitely one of the biggest constraints for our team as we were assigned the project a little bit later into the semester. There was quite a bit of uncertainty when we took on this project, but we worked pretty hard over the past several weekends and really got a lot of it done. Our project progressed over the past about 43 days, and in total we spent an estimated 110 hours. We actually spent a little bit more than that, but that was our estimated hours for just the project itself. Lastly, the third constraint is cost. There really wasn't any allocated money for this project since we didn't really have a sponsor. There was very little cost associated with this project. The only thing that comes to mind is paying the developer's fee. That was about $25.
So then through our analysis, basically IBM has a vast amount of tutorials on their website and it's very detailed, but the one thing they did lack was kind of organization. So going from one tutorial to another tutorial took too many steps and you had to go through each PowerPoint just to really understand what was going on. We sought to try to fix this by creating an application. And then through our analysis as well, we also asked a bunch of students to see if they knew what Worklight was and what the capabilities are. And every single person we asked had no idea what Worklight was. Now, to be honest, me and Chris had no idea what Worklight was before even taking on this project. Basically, through our analysis, IBM Worklight, we're trying to get it out to the people, out to students, future students, and also to kind of organize a more simple fashion and easy to use interface that could be used through an application.
Yeah, so we just want to be able to give any future students, whether it's San Jose State students or other universities, we want to be able to give them the tools, documentation to set up a pretty ground level application to get them started being able to structure their application. And there are a fair amount of things within the IBM official documentation that's somewhat misleading, so we went through to try to clear a lot of that up. So in order to further entice students, we decided to develop this application in order to house what we felt were the most important aspects of Worklight. So students will be able to download our application onto their Android devices. Most Android devices should support the application. It's available in the Google Play Store. We hope this helps them to better understand how to develop their first hybrid mobile application.
Basically, what is our next steps? Well, as Chris just stated, students now and basically anyone is able to download our application for free on Google Play. It's called Learn Worklight. And basically, we just sought to help out students and anyone else who is interested in learning Worklight, and hopefully they can build their first hybrid application with Worklight.
So what you see here is the actual IBM Worklight program. It's a fairly simple interface. If you're used to Adobe software such as Dreamweaver, it's very similar. You have navigation on the left here, and you have different elements that you're able to add on the right, as well as different properties for when an object is selected. So it kind of does a split screen here, so you can kind of set up your own environment however you like. On the left here, I have all the code for the application. This is actually all the code for Learn Worklight. And on the right here, we have a little preview. One of the great things about Worklight is it actually does a live preview. So as you're actually working on the application, it'll automatically start updating aspects of it, which is pretty great. If needed, you can switch it up to just design or just the code. And just like in Dreamweaver, it does tabbing of different files that you have open. So it's a fairly simple to use software. Where it gets tricky is actually debugging the software and finalizing the application to get it ready for deployment to either of the app stores.